Well, I'm going to guess most of you, like me, are full on into the new school year. Even if you don't have kids at home right now, you know that things are back, like traffic is back and lots of people are moving around and all of those reminders of the new school year out there. And we have also started a new school year here at St. Michael. Last Sunday, we kicked off our new year of classes at 10 a.m. And so I hope that you're taking advantage of those classes, the opportunity to come and learn together. And today, we're actually going to have a blessing of all those students and teachers and staff members of schools of any kind today, just to kind of get that school year kicked off well. Thinking about school, last Sunday, I taught our St. Michael 101 class. That is one of the 4 adult classes that we offer every Sunday, and that's the class specifically for people who are looking to either reconnect, or maybe they're new members or new people here to our church, and they want to learn about the Episcopal Church. They want to learn about St. Michael, who we are, and what they can do as part of this tradition. And so last Sunday, I kind of do the overview of what it means to be kind of Episcopalian, an Anglican Christian. And I was explaining that one of the hallmarks of being an Episcopalian is that we believe very truly that God is still working in the world, that God is still revealing truth to us in the world. And it's that kind of revelation, that kind of invitation that God makes to us to continue to grow and learn about the wholeness of God. That is what excites me about being Episcopalian. And so one of our good class members who is new to the Episcopal Church raised his hand. And he said very politely, "How then do we know what God is actually revealing? How do we know then what to change?" And I said, well, the Episcopal Church changes very slowly and with a lot of prayer. And I thought that's exactly what we do as Episcopalians. We're thoughtful and we're prayerful and we look to see what God is doing and then we try to respond. And it's that response that helps continue to engage us in our faith. We don't believe that God is somehow fixed and locked for good and forever in the past, but instead God is right here and active with us. That's a great thing when we celebrate good things that happen in our lives, but especially when the bad times hit, especially when we are afraid or uncertain, to know that God is active with us, present with us, continuing to reveal himself to us, that is a real balm and a real comfort. Believing that God still works in the world helps us to really engage in what our faith life actually is. This is very true, and it was true and has been true for a long time. Take today's gospel lesson. Jesus is in the middle of a lot of teaching of his disciples. Right here in the middle of the Gospel of Luke, Jesus has kind of done his hometown stuff, and he's not quite all the way to Jerusalem. And in this section, he is continuing to teach those who are directly following him and those who just happen to be around him at any given moment. In this story today, Jesus goes to synagogue, goes to worship, and as he's there, he sees a woman who is bent over. A woman who is obviously in pain and in need, and Jesus, probably without thinking twice, goes and heals her. That sounds like a good thing, except the rules say you are not supposed to work on the Sabbath, and the healing then is work. And so the leaders, the religious leaders, freak out because Jesus has broken one of the Sabbath, one of the laws, something that was so critically important to who they thought they were. And of course, Jesus continues to explain what is going on, and he says to his followers, is it not better to heal someone in need, even if it's on the Sabbath, than to let them go? And so for us, I think the learning here, I hope, is relatively obvious. We are human, just like the religious leaders 2,000 years ago, and we like rules. We like the boundaries. We like to know what is expected of us. We like to know the path that we are to walk, and many times, those kinds of boundaries keep us moving forward in a nice, healthy way, and they're good. But if those boundaries become actually the most important thing, if those boundaries become a limit to actually understanding what God is trying to do in the world, understanding what we are called to do in the world, well, then those boundaries are not only not helpful, but they can actually be harmful. See, it's easy for us to succumb to the pressures of the world. The world influences us all the time, every moment of every day. And the world can tell us that we are supposed to decide who is right and wrong, that we are supposed to decide what we believe so that we know that we are different than those who believe something else. The world is trying to push on us that kind of system that actually creates a lot of fear of difference and fear of change. We know how this works, and the world is really good at this. I mean, my gosh, entire industries thrive on the idea of fear and scaring all of us to believe that the world is out to get us, that unknown people are out to get us. See, it's much easier to divide us when we are afraid. It's much easier to divide us when we are talking about theoretical fears, theoretical peoples and identities, rather than actually knowing the people. It's really hard to divide us when we actually know each other. It's really hard to divide us when we actually sit together and talk together and pray together and are humbly put in front of the cross together. Last week, I got a great email, and I was reminded of just the power of what a faith community like this can actually be. You've probably heard us over the last few weeks talking about what we will be doing this fall, which is nudging and encouraging people to serve in new ways. And so because we've been prepping, kind of hinting at what it is we're going to be doing over the next few months, one of our members said, I heard you nudging. And so he said, I started looking around to see what could I do that is different than what I've ever done. And decided he was going to go down to the Bridge. That's a ministries downtown that serves people who are home insecure and many other issues. And so he went down there, he spent the day, and he really loved it. And it was challenging to him, and he wanted to know how he could get more involved. And so he sent me the note saying, yes, I heard you. And so I did the thing I didn't really want to do. And I'm wondering if there are any other church members who are active there, which of course there are. And so I connected him to some of them. And what I left that interaction really heartened, because that's the kind of challenge that I hope all of us hear when we come to church. That's the kind of nudge that I hope all of us are willing to receive. Because what we do here is not just filling our time on Sunday mornings before we do all the other stuff. What should happen when we come to church is we are reminded of the things we already know. One of the things I say all the time is that I only have one sermon because it's really actually quite simple. We make the world so complicated so that we kind of don't have to do the thing that Jesus asked us to do. And so when we come to church, we should just be reminded of the stuff we have forgotten because the world is so good at distracting. When we come to church and sit together like this, and we listen and we learn and we pray and we sing, I hope that we are open just enough to allow the Spirit to get in us and to move us to expand who we are, to deepen our dependency on God, and yes, to actually change for the future. There is no doubt that the world is highly complicated. Of course it is. It is complicated, it is complex. The problems of the world are ones we can't just simply solve right here in this community. But I do think that the truth of the gospel, the actual good news of Jesus, is that there are no problems out in the world, no complications that are complex that have ever been made bad because of too much love. None of the problems that we have ever experienced in the world, nor will we ever experience in the world, are problems because there was too much love. What we hear from Jesus is that compelling call to actually care for people, to love people. And what the world tries to do is tell us when and where and how much and whether we should or should not love. The complications of the world make us actually start to question whether or not it's right or wrong to feed people who are hungry, whether it's right or wrong to help heal people who are sick or hurting, whether it's right or wrong to just be kind to everyone, regardless of whatever they have done. And if we are honest, we know exactly what Jesus would say about every single one of those things. You feed people who are hungry. You clothe them if they're naked. You care for them and you heal them if they are sick. And you love them, not only if they make that easy. You love every person. See, Jesus came to remind us, deep down at the core, that God is always bigger than we think. Whenever our world puts a limit on God, Jesus is right there to remind us that God has no limits and that God's grace and love is never, never within our boundaries. This is a new year. We've started this new year, and you get a chance to respond in the new year to help to grow and to change and to become more the person God made you to be, hopes that you will be, and we get to do all of that together right here. This church is very useful to all those who are willing to have the courage to open themselves up to the work that God is still doing, to listen to the voice of God that is still revealing truth to us right here, to recognize and receive that nudge and that challenge to be better day by day as we grow closer and closer to God. Do not let this new year just float by. Instead, ask yourself what you can do, what you need to do, what God is trying to do through you, so that together we can actually build God's kingdom right here and right now. Amen.